morning, everyone. It's Monday morning here in Ontario, Canada. Beautiful day here. Today is day 5 of my grief relief talk for my virtual book launch. It's my grief, and I'll cry if I want to. Today we're going to talk about what to say and what to do to help support a loved one that could be grieving. Now, I'd like to point out that if somebody comes forward and they want to support us, then we have to, be open to that and have an open heart, because they likely do really care a lot about us if they're coming forward to want to help us. So we always want to do the right things, say the right things, and sometimes if we're trying to support someone that's grieving, we don't really know what that is or what that could look like. And because we're scared, we're going to say or do all the wrong things. Sometimes we can go in the other direction. So I hope that this little chat here might give you a little bit of comfort in knowing that your help and your love and support is very much needed at this time. So if you do offer to help someone, make sure what it is that you're offering is something that is doable and something that is reasonable for you, keeping in mind of your own self-care. And we talked about that on Friday, how it is that you can look after yourself during a time of loss. We want to make sure we don't tell our grieving loved one how to feel. We look back at maybe at a time when we were grieving, and the conversation kind of gets a little bit overloaded about it becoming more about us as opposed to the person that is grieving and how we felt at this time, what we did, what we didn't do. And to a certain extent, that can be okay, but we have to be very aware to keep this support about the person that is grieving, and remembering that we all grieve very differently, and how you may have grieved 5 or 10 years ago, maybe when you lost your husband, might not be the same feelings or emotions that your loved one is feeling. So you have to kind of gauge it, and you're gonna know your loved one better than I am sitting here talking. So you kind of have to just use your own judgment, but just be aware that this is their grief, and it's their time, and what they really need is just for you to support, and not really so much tell them how to feel or even believe. Belief systems will often come up in times of death, and the thing that we just have to keep in mind is to let our grieving loved one take the lead on that, as opposed to us kind of telling them what to believe in terms of religion. So let them take the lead, and we could be there to support them, and that's the best way to respond to that. So making suggestions on how to help is always really nice, but make sure you again, don't get too pushy with that, because you can push your loved one away if they're just finding it a little too overwhelming. But sometimes when you're grieving, you don't really know what you need, so you also do need someone to make some suggestions. Maybe offer to pick the kids up after school, get some groceries, maybe help with some housework, or depending on the type of loss, maybe there's some certain resources or professional help and things like that. So these are all really, really helpful things. I think the thing that we just have to be aware of is our own self-awareness as to whether, we are, what we're giving is what our loved one wants to receive. So just kind of be really aware of how it is that they're responding to what it is that you're offering. So we want to make sure that our loved one doesn't feel alone, especially, losing a spouse or a child or someone, a parent, someone that maybe even lived under the same household. So when they go back home after the funeral and all those sort of things, your whole life is basically, been thrown to the ground and left to rebuild. Maybe a spouse, someone that you shared your life with on a day-to-day basis, and suddenly, you're feeling very alone and abandoned. So I think it's really important to make sure, if you're going to support someone, that they know that they're not alone and that you're there to support them. Now, witnessing pain during a time of grief is something that I think has more meaning than what many of us know. Sometimes we think we just have to keep talking and talking, and sometimes we just have to, be quiet for a little while and let our loved one express what it is that they're thinking and how they're feeling, so we can actually witness their pain. And that's very therapeutic and helps a lot more than what you think it does. I think too, it's really important when we're talking to the person that we're supporting that we say the name of the person that is lost. As as someone that has grieved in the past, it's really important to us to know that our loved one is going to be remembered, and that their life mattered. And by saying their name or telling even a story or something sweet and kind or funny can bring us a lot of comfort. So when we're grieving, sometimes we get a little bit caught up in our grief, or a lot caught up in our grief, and we forget to look after ourselves. So encouraging our friend or a loved one to follow, self-care and look after themselves. But we can find out what's going on simply by asking questions like, how are you eating? Are you sleeping okay? Are you feeling any depression, any anxiety? Maybe it would be a good idea to see a professional or maybe make a doctor's appointment. These are all very normal things for someone that is grieving. I know when I lost Barry almost 10 years ago, one of my first phone calls was, I got to go see the doctor because, I'm not feeling very well and I need some extra support. So that was really my first stop in moving towards, getting that professional support. And from there, I went on to therapy and all kinds of things that I found was very helpful in processing my grief. So also, I would suggest that you kind of watch for signs too, because when we lose a loved one, mental illness, if we're not really processing our grief, mental illness could be something that is a possibility, not always something that happens, but it does put us at a higher risk depending on how well we're processing our grief. So keep a good eye on how our loved one is doing. After, encourage them to take the time off work that they need. Going back to work too soon is never a good solution. It might seem like I'll keep busy and it will all just go away. But what it really does is it just kind of sizzles up in the back of our mind in a file and kind of sits there and waits. So these are just things that we can kind of encourage to a certain level, because knowing even myself back when I was grieving, I was going to do what I wanted to do no matter what. I was open to suggestions, but if somebody got too pushy, I might kind of slide away from them because I didn't like the pushiness. So it's really finding a nice little balance. But I know that you can be a great support to your loved one. You're very much needed in a time of grief. I don't know how I would have ever survived my loss without having my family and friends by my side. They were definitely the key to my recovery. So don't give up and keep pushing forward. Now, tomorrow I'm going to talk a little bit about what not to say. And this is always a big question, like what, if I say this, if I say that, is the right or the wrong thing? But there are a few pointers and a few things that seem like the natural thing to say, but you might be surprised that it can give an opposite reaction to the loved one. So I'll go over that tomorrow. So, okay, so remember to share my post. Yes, to win a book draw on Friday. I'll do one more this week. And it's only going to be the people that share the post this week that are going to get into my bucket. So make sure you share, because I've just been keep adding into my draw bottle. Last week it was Maria. She did share last week and she shares every week. So she very much deserved to win. So I was really happy when I drew her name. This week, I'm just going to, whoever shares will go into, I guess, a separate cup. Then I'll draw it on Friday. Hey, if it's just one person that shares, you got a book instantly, automatically. If you share 5 times, your name may go in 5 times I'm going to be doing a couple of these this week. So what I do at the end of the week is I go through and I keep putting the names in that share the post. So make sure you do that so you can win a free copy. If you'd like to order the virtual book launch special, it's on right now for $9.95, and it's $5 for shipping. And that also includes tax. And if you want to do that, it's www.griefreliefcoaching.ca. Have a great day, and thanks for joining me, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.